students.
Holy moly.
I'm just being real. Put that on tape.
I didn't know that was a thing.
No, she doesn't steal everybody's ideas. She just, we're all sitting here like, wow, why didn't I think of that? Wow, okay, I have to follow that. I know.
Not to.
Okay, so Whitney's last, got it. All right, today we're going to be talking about how to reignite our students' passion. We know that our students come to school and they have a lot of stuff going on in their personal life, their school life, and sometimes it gets just hard for them to stay motivated, to stay passion filled. So I know that you guys have some great ideas on how we can do that for our students, and I'm gonna let you take it away, Louie.
Oh my goodness. First, huh? All right. So, I may not be the best person to ask about things like this, but when I see students come in and they're dragging because it's Monday or they worked that night before and they're tired, maybe their whatever attitude is because of whatever. First of all, you as an instructor have to be cheery, happy, greet them. How's your day going? Peppy patty. But I'll take them out in the shop first thing. Instead of sitting and getting more sedate, I'll take them out in the shop and we'll do a review. I find that if they go over something that they've already done and they can do it better, it gives them more confidence. It lightens the mood, if you will. That's, I don't have much more, but
That works.
yeah, doing a review and going over something that we've done before really helps wake them up and give them a little bit of, I don't know, it's an adrenaline shot, but it gets them going.
I love that you just said I'm going to try to boost their confidence, because that is usually somewhere in there they've lost that along the way, and so you're like, hey, let's go do something that you really love or that you're really good at, and then they're like, oh yeah, I love to be. What's wrong with me?
Or in our
psychology,
in our program, I have the different cars, and some of them have a favorite car. Oh, I love the Prius, or whatever, and you can give them that car because they like it, and then they're happy to mess with it. So, yeah, whatever.
I think that's great. That's a great way to reignite passion for sure. All right, we're gonna swing around to Miss Carla.
Okay. Usually what I do is if I notice that they're really having a hard time, I'll have a discussion with them, like, what brought you to the program in the first place? Why were you passionate, and how can we help you find that again? So I bring them back to the why. I mean, there's other things that you can do too, like all these silly stuff, like I'll say, okay, well, then let's get up and just move. And so we'll do just some shaking and moving, or maybe I'll take them through some laughter yoga, just to get them to kind of lighten up. So those are some of the things that I do.
Did I overhear that she took yours?
Yes, she did.
And mine, look at, tell us your why.
Yeah. Do you want to expound more on that? Like, how do you figure out what a student's why is? And I would assume that if I were a new instructor, a new
Did you say nude?
new instructor, I would think that my job would be to.
You'd have no problem
I
with passion.
know.
You better let that one out.
Yeah, edit.
I would think that my job would be to come in there and teach the information that's on the PowerPoint. So where do we rope in this figuring out their why?
It's a discussion. Just like, Carla was saying, we have to refocus on why are you here? What do you want to get out of this program? I just told the students the other day, I'm like, hold me accountable. I'm holding you accountable. Well, hold me accountable. If I'm not doing what you're expecting, then let me know. And then to, piggyback on Louie's, repetitive, I repeat a lot of things. Because if we keep repeating it, it will finally stick. And so I think if they're finally getting it to stick, that might help reignite their passion.
Why does it leave? I mean, they have their why to begin with.
Life.
Yep.
Or just they have senioritis.
Mm.
Their last term is the hardest term because they're like, oh, I know everything. Why do I have to keep practicing? So
It's funny, you would think like senioritis only happens in high school. Like I
Mhm.
never would have thought of that dragging over to college.
Yeah.
It's almost worse in college.
It is.
yeah, it is really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have it for a whole 6 weeks.
Everybody gets the daily doldrums, I think. I do.
Mhm.
You know, there's times when I wake up and get in my truck and I'm like, but once I get to school, I see the students, we're cheery with each other. You know, it's easy to get it back.
Mhm.
Students, sometimes it's a little more difficult to get it back.
Mhm.
But-
Mhm. So just recognizing those, that it's gonna happen in their last terms, like we can't avoid that.
Mhm.
And then also recognizing that we're in those programs for a long time, so that we're gonna have to revisit every once in a while. And also recognizing that it's just repetitive, that it's the day-to-day repetitiveness. So throwing something in there a little spicy, that's the right terminology. Spicy to lighten it up.
I think it happens twice in our program. So like around the midway point and then the end. So when we see it happen in the midway point, that excitement of being on the floor and something new, and that can sometimes dwindle. And so that's when we see our students lose their passion for it. They're like, well, I mean, I still have a few more terms of this, and I have time to learn it all. And I'm just like that excitement, that build up, and then there's the letdown of, okay, it happened, but now it's the exciting part's done. And now, and maybe fear too. I think fear sometimes can happen midway through. And then, of course, the regular end of program, senioritis.
All right, Janet, tossing it back to you.
Scheduling a guest speaker. We use graduates because they've already went through the program. They can say what it was like for them, what they're doing now. Sadly, I mean, not that money should be a motivator, but students will ask them those questions. And then they gets reignited that, oh, wow, if I stay on this path, I can too make that kind of money and not do what I'm doing now.
And it's probably just good for them to see somebody who's made it.
Yeah, I mean that, and they can relate to that person more than somebody who's been out for a while. Us old folks.
Right. And then just again, the day to day, like they see you every day, no matter how often you're trying to be motivational or get them back on track. At some point in time, they're just like, oh, here comes Janet again, trying to tell me, why did I get started with this?
Same old, same old.
Same old, same old. But if you schedule in somebody else, it's like, oh yeah, Janet has been telling me this the whole time. And I just kind of just needed that extra boost. Yeah, I think a guest speaker is great. All right, Whitney, let's pass it over to you. Unless we're bouncing, JP, do you have anything else? I didn't feel like I didn't skip you. You were just piggybacking.
Good.
Not piggyback. It was her idea, Carla.
Yes.
Yeah, Carla stole my idea too. And then
I'll let her energy over there.
I would say sometimes our students need to be reignited when the educator needs to be reignited. So sometimes when you're feeling that way, especially if you're like maybe teaching a new subject or a new term, just doing an earn the right with your students. And we do like an icebreaker where we have them write their name down and then write down what they're most excited, what they thought they'd be most excited to learn about, and what they currently are most excited to learn about. Their favorite series on Netflix or Hulu, and then their why, like who inspired them to be here. But we also do it as the educators too. So we remind ourselves, and they get to hear that, and we share it with everyone out loud. And I think that just helps reignite the entire classroom, including the educator. And so anytime we have a new educator go into a class, we try and do this icebreaker with them. So everybody just, starts the class off with their why, and it inspires them to, it was for my grandma, so I need to make her proud. So we do that, and then we have a cool opportunity with guests. And so when our students have a really great guest experience, writing down their takeaways from that experience they had with their guest. Sometimes, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, we'll have a guest come in who maybe her hair's thinning and they did a shorter haircut and the guest was nervous about it at first, but then was in tears because she loved it after. And so making sure that we share those success stories and having them write their takeaways down about it really helps to reignite them and know why. I mean, a lot of our students get into the industry to help people and make them feel more confident and beautiful, and that's a big part of it. So that really helps to reignite them.
I'm wondering, and maybe I wasn't paying attention, so I just want to bounce back
Mhm.
to it, but are you laughing at me?
Me?
Not paying attention.
But you said that you have those students, or you share those success stories. Are you
Mhm.
sharing, like, does everyone get a chance to hear these success stories, or just making sure that you have that interaction with the student as a reminder?
We try to do it with everyone, like during theory,
Mhm.
and then snaps afterwards, and then we'll sometimes have our students also share stories
Mhm.
about, like, oh, well, I had a guest 2 weeks ago that,
Mhm.
and so then it just kind of is contagious around the room. So we do that. If there's not that opportunity, it's a quick, like, huddle on the floor, go share your story with your friends, share what just happened. And so then they'll go tell their group, and then it kind of just ignites on the floor.
Mhm.
Ideally, it would be in a theory where everybody can see it. But sometimes it's just those little fires that you can start and
Yeah.
help spread.
Yeah. Good energy, good conversations, good reminders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. And it's another way to kind of bounce back to what you were saying. You invite guest speakers in.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sharing that same energy, but sharing
Mhm.
that same energy, like, right when it happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome too.
Yeah.
I think that when it comes to reigniting passion, it's just very important to be alert to your students
Mm-hmm.
so that you know when it's coming or when those
Mhm.
downfalls kind of start to hit, so that we can hopefully reinfuse them.
Mhm.
Which you guys have great ideas about how to reinfuse them, but I think it's just making sure we
Mhm.
fallen completely off the
Yeah.
deep end. I think, is that it? Does anybody have anything else they want to add on to that conversation?
And just keeping them challenged.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we could do color corrections or cut corrections. It's always fun to come up with different scenarios. Like with a mannequin, you chop the bangs too short. All right, this guest walked in. What are you going to do? And then when they're not quite sure of the path, it's like, okay, maybe I don't know it all yet. YouTube and TikTok didn't teach me everything. So always challenging them.
I have to ask, what do? You can't glue hair back on.
No, so you really have to, just
I mean,
really think of the basics of cutting and figure out how you can make that discovery work with the guest.
I'm just
Sometimes
curious.
they'll want to cut it all the way off, but a lot of times, especially if it's little kids that just,
yeah, that's
and their hair is down to here, they have to learn how to blend that in so it looks a little bit more blended than. So it's always fun to do those fun challenges or,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
challenging them just
Yeah.
so that they can really, and it makes them dive back into the foundational pieces, which that's why they're in our program, is to learn the foundational pieces of cosmetology.
Yeah. Yeah. Challenge is good. I always forget because we're dealing with adults,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that term means. But we're dealing with adults that we have this expectation of them,
Mhm.
that they should know what's going on,
Mhm.
that they should pick up on the information. But if you challenge them a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
kind of force them to go backwards and dig deeper
Mhm.
into what they're supposed to be doing. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, we need a topic for next time. JP, I saw you write notes. I don't know if you were writing notes about this, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to pick on you anyway for a topic for next time, unless you want to phone in a friend. What you got?
Can I think about it?
Yes, JP is going to think about it and we'll have the topic next time.
when is the next time?
Week 5 next